I almost walked right past her. I was at the mall to buy a birthday gift for my granddaughter, Emma. I decided to cut through the food court, and there, sitting at a sticky table in the corner, was a woman counting pennies to buy a cup of black coffee. She looked thin, her hair was messy, her uniform was wrinkled. It took me 3 seconds to realize that this broken, exhausted woman was my daughter. Sophia used to wear designer suits. She used to drive the Highlander I helped her buy. She used to own a beautiful colonial house on Maple Street. Now she was trembling over a pile of change. When I sat down across from her, she looked terrified. She looked at her phone like it was a bomb about to go off. "Mom," she whispered, "you can't be here. If Michael finds out I'm talking to you, he'll punish me." I didn't know what she meant by punish, but over the next hour I listened to a story that turned my blood to ice. My daughter wasn't just broke, she was a prisoner. Her husband and his mother had stolen her house, her car, and her dignity. They were forcing her to sleep on a concrete floor in a garage while they lived in luxury upstairs. They thought she was helpless. They thought she had no one. They forgot who her mother was. I spent 35 years as a forensic accountant for the FBI. I track money that doesn't want to be found. I uncover fraud that people kill to hide. I didn't scream. I didn't cause a scene. I bought my daughter a sandwich, kissed her forehead, and told her to go home. Then I went to my car, opened my laptop, and started the audit that would send her husband to prison. This is the story of how I balanced the books. Before I tell you exactly what I found in their bank accounts, I need to know who is listening. Pause the video right now. Go to the comments and tell me, where are you watching this from? And tell me, if you found out someone was financially abusing your child, what is the first thing you would do? I'm reading every single comment. Now, let's follow the money. It was a Wednesday, 2 p.m. The mall was loud, filled with teenagers skipping school and mothers with strollers. I slid into the plastic booth across from Sophia. "Sophia?" I asked. She jumped, a visceral, physical flinch. She tried to hide the coins in her hand. "Mom, hi." She forced a smile, but it didn't reach her eyes. Her eyes were dead. "What are you doing here?" "I'm shopping for Emma," I said, eyeing her uniform. It hung off her frame. She had lost at least 20 pounds since Christmas. "Where is Emma?" "She's with Michael and his mother," Sophia said, looking at the exit. "They took her to the park." "And you're here?" "I have a double shift," she lied. "Just grabbing coffee." "Where is your car? The Highlander?" Sophia looked down. "Michael needed it. His truck broke down." "His truck broke down 4 months ago, Sophia. He's been driving your car for 4 months?" "It's fine, Mom. I take the bus. It saves gas." I reached across the table and took her hand. Her skin was rough, dry. Her fingernails were bitten down to the quick. "Sophia," I said, using my interrogation voice, soft but firm. "Look at me. You look like you haven't slept in a week. You look starving. What is going on?" She tried to pull away. "Nothing. We're just tight on money. Michael is between jobs." "Michael has been between jobs for 2 years," I reminded her. "You are a nurse. You make good money. Where is it going?" She looked at her phone again. It buzzed. She stared at the screen, and I saw pure terror on her face. Text from Michael. "Where are you? Sending location." "He's tracking you." It wasn't a question. Sophia crumbled. The dam broke. "Mom, please," she whispered, tears spilling onto the table. "I can't. If I tell you, Diane will take Emma." "Diane?" I asked. "Mrs. Sterling? What does she have to do with this?" "Everything," she sobbed. "She moved in 6 months ago. She said it was to help with the bills, but then they took over." "Took over what?" "Everything. They made me sign papers, Mom. They said it was for tax purposes. But now, my name isn't on the checking account. My paychecks are direct deposited into an account I can't access. Diane gives me $20 a week for food. That's it." I felt the rage building in my chest, a cold, calculated pressure. "And the house?" I asked. "The house on Maple Street, the one your father and I gave you the down payment for?" Sophia covered her face. "It's gone." "Sold?" "Rented," she whispered. "Diane said we couldn't afford it. We moved into Diane's house, but they rented out my house. They collect the rent. I don't see a dime. And where do you sleep, Sophia?" She went silent. "Sophia?" "In the garage," she choked out. "Diane said I snore. She said I disturb Michael's sleep. She said until I get my act together and lose some weight, I have to sleep in the garage. And Emma? Emma sleeps upstairs with them. They barely let me see her. They tell her I'm sick. They tell her I don't love her." I stood up. I wanted to flip the table. I wanted to drive to Mrs. Sterling's house and burn it to the ground. But arson is messy, and I am a forensic accountant. I don't use fire, I use spreadsheets. "Listen to me," I gripped her shoulders. "You are going to finish your coffee. You are going to take the bus back to that house. You are going to act like nothing happened." "Mom, no, you have to help me." "I am going to help you, but if I storm in there right now, they will claim you are unstable. They will use their lawyers to take Emma away permanently. We need proof." "Proof of what?" "Proof of fraud," I said. "Proof of coercion. Proof of theft." I handed her a $20 bill. "Buy a sandwich. Eat it. I will call you in 48 hours. "Mom." "Trust me," I said. "I hunted cartel money launderers in the 90s. Dealing with your mother-in-law will be a vacation." I went straight to my home office. I retired 5 years ago, but I kept my licenses active. I kept my software updated. You never know when you might need to run a background check on a neighbor or a son-in-law. I started with the property records. I pulled up the deed for the house on Maple Street. Owner, Michael Sterling and Diane Sterling. My heart stopped. Sophia's name was gone. I pulled the transfer history. 6 months ago, a quitclaim deed was filed, removing Sophia from the title and adding Diane Sterling. I pulled up the digitized document. I zoomed in on the signature. Sophia Sterling. I stared at it. I know my daughter's handwriting. She loops her S. She dots her I with a slash. This signature was tight, cramped. It was a forgery. A bad one. "Got you," I whispered. Next, I went to the bank records. Because I had helped them set up their mortgage, my name was still on the original escrow account as a guarantor. That gave me a back door into the system. I logged in. The mortgage was being paid, but not from their joint account. It was being paid from an account named Sterling Management LLC. I ran a search on the LLC. Registered agent, Diane Sterling. Members, Michael Sterling. Sophia wasn't on it. I tracked the deposits. Every month, a deposit of $3,800 hit that account. Rent. They were renting out my daughter's house, stealing the income and using it to fund their lifestyle while she slept on concrete. But then I found the smoking gun. I ran a credit check on Michael. He had 5 credit cards maxed out, gambling debts, online casinos, DraftKings. And then I saw it. A life insurance policy taken out on Sophia 3 months ago. Beneficiary, Michael Sterling. Amount, $2 million. My blood ran cold. They weren't just stealing from her, they were preparing for her not to be there. If she accidentally died in that garage, carbon monoxide, a fall, a sudden illness, they would get everything. I needed eyes on the ground. I called my old friend James. He used to be a surveillant for the Bureau. Now he ran a private PI firm in Phoenix. "James," I said, "I need a camera, a tiny one." "What's the job, Eleanor?" "I need to bug a garage." That night, I drove to Mrs. Sterling's house. It was a McMansion in a gated community, stucco and arrogance. I parked down the street. It was 2 a.m. I crept up the driveway. I saw the garage door. It had a small window. I peered inside. It was exactly as Sophia had described. A single bare bulb hung from the ceiling. There was a stained mattress on the floor, a space heater buzzed in the corner. There were boxes of Christmas decorations stacked around the bed like a wall. And there was my daughter, curled up under a thin blanket, shivering in her sleep. I took a photo through the window. Then I saw something else. The door leading into the house, it had a padlock on it, from the outside. They locked her in at night. This wasn't just abuse. This was false imprisonment. This was kidnapping. I slipped a small, motion-activated camera through a crack in the weather stripping. I angled it toward the door. I went back to my car. I called my lawyer, Sarah. She picked up on the second ring. "Eleanor," I said, "I need you to file an emergency ex parte motion for custody and a freeze on assets tomorrow morning." "Eleanor, what's going on?" "My son-in-law has locked my daughter in a garage and forged her signature on a deed. And Sarah, I think they're planning to kill her for the insurance money." "I'll have the papers ready by 8 a.m., Sarah said, her voice sharp. "Do you have proof?" "I have the forensic trail, and by tomorrow morning, I'll have the video." Wednesday morning, 7 a.m. I sat in my car down the street from Mrs. Sterling's house. Next to me was Sarah, my attorney. Behind us was a patrol car with 2 sheriff's deputies. We weren't there for a social call. We were there to execute an emergency protective order. I checked the feed from the camera I had planted. Sophia was awake. She was sitting on the mattress, hugging her knees. She looked at the door leading to the house. She tried the handle. Locked. "She's trapped," I told the deputies. "They haven't unlocked the door yet." "That's unlawful imprisonment," Deputy Miller said, adjusting his belt. "Let's move." We rolled up the driveway. I banged on the front door. Not a polite knock, a police knock. Mrs. Sterling opened it. She was wearing a silk robe, holding a cup of coffee. She looked annoyed. "Can I help you?" she sneered. Then she saw me. "Oh, it's you. I thought I told Sophia to tell you." "Step aside, Mrs. Sterling," I said. "You can't come in here," she shrieked. "This is private property." "We have a warrant," Deputy Miller said, stepping forward. "We have probable cause to believe a resident is being held against their will." "That's ridiculous." Michael appeared behind his mother, looking sleepy and disheveled. "My wife is fine. She's sleeping in the guest room." "Is she?" I asked. "Then why is the guest room empty?" I pushed past them. I walked straight to the garage door in the kitchen. There it was, a heavy iron padlock on the outside of the door. Michael's face went pale. That's just for safety. The alarm system is broken." "Open it," Deputy Miller ordered. Michael fumbled with the keys. His hands were shaking. He dropped them. I picked them up. I unlocked the padlock. I threw the door open. The smell hit us first. Stale air, unwashed clothes, and despair. Sophia looked up, blinded by the light. She scrambled back against the wall, terrified. "I didn't do anything," she cried out. "I didn't steal the food, I swear." "Sophia," I said, my voice breaking, "it's okay, it's Mom." She saw me. She saw the police. She collapsed, sobbing. Deputy Miller looked at the mattress. He looked at the space heater. He looked at the padlock in my hand. He turned to Michael. "Turn around, hands behind your back." "You can't arrest me," Michael shouted. "She chose to sleep there. She's crazy." "You locked her in," I said, holding up the padlock. "That's kidnapping, Michael." Mrs. Sterling tried to block the hallway. "You are ruining this family. I'll sue you." "Sarah," I said to my lawyer, "would you like to show Mrs. Sterling the paperwork?" Sarah stepped forward, handing Mrs. Sterling a thick stack of documents. "This is an emergency order freezing all assets. It also charges you with fraud, forgery, and conspiracy. You aren't suing anyone, Diane. You're finding a criminal defense attorney." We got Sophia out. We got Emma out. As we walked down the driveway, I looked back. Michael was in the back of the cruiser. Mrs. Sterling was screaming on her front porch. "It's not over," she yelled. "I have rights." "I have the right to remain silent. I suggest you use it." The arrest was just the beginning. The real battle was in the conference room 3 days later. Mrs. Sterling had bailed Michael out. They hired a slimy lawyer who claimed the garage setup was temporary and consensual due to marital disputes. They wanted a settlement. They wanted us to drop the charges in exchange for allowing Sophia to divorce him. I sat at the head of the table. Sophia sat next to me. She was clean, fed, and wearing clothes that fit. She still looked scared, but she was holding my hand. Across the table sat Michael, Mrs. Sterling, and their lawyer. My clients differ on the interpretation of events, their lawyer said smoothly. However, to avoid a public spectacle, they are willing to grant a divorce. Michael keeps the rental property on Maple Street as he has been managing it. Sophia gets her car back. We call it even. I laughed. I actually laughed out loud. Even? I asked. I opened my laptop. I connected it to the conference room screen. Let's look at the math, I said. Slide 1, the forgery. I projected the deed transfer. This is a digital forensic analysis of the signature on the quitclaim deed, I explained. The pen pressure points indicate it was traced. Specifically, it matches a signature Michael has on an old birthday card from Sophia. Mrs. Sterling stiffened. Slide 2, the theft. Here are the bank statements for Sterling Management LLC, I said. Note the monthly transfers of $3,800, rental income. Total stolen, $22,800. He managed the property, Mrs. Sterling shouted. He earned that money. He managed a property he stole, I corrected. That is called proceeds of crime. Slide 3, the life insurance. This was the one that would bury them. I put up the policy document. 3 months ago, Michael took out a $2 million policy on Sophia's life, I said. The application states she was in excellent health, yet you locked her in a garage with a propane space heater that wasn't ventilated. I looked Michael in the eye. Carbon monoxide poisoning looks a lot like dying in your sleep, doesn't it, Michael? Michael couldn't breathe. He was hyperventilating. That's standard planning, the lawyer stammered, but he was sledding. Here is the timeline, I continued, relentless. Gambling debts, $85,000. Rent stolen, $22,000. It wasn't enough. The sharks were circling Michael. You needed a big payout. You didn't lock her in that garage to punish her. You locked her in there to wait for an accident. The room was silent. This isn't a divorce negotiation, I said, closing my laptop. This is a meeting to decide how many years you spend in prison. I slid a folder across the table. Option A, we go to trial. I present this to a jury. Attempted murder, fraud, kidnapping. You go away for 20 years. Option B, the lawyer asked weakly. Option B, you sign over the house. You sign over your house, Diane, to cover the punitive damages. You grant full custody of Emma to Sophia, and you plead guilty to the fraud charges to avoid the attempted murder charge. You want my house? Mrs. Sterling screeched. I made my daughter sleep on concrete. I think it's only fair you see what it's like to be homeless. They signed. They had no choice. The math was irrefutable. Michael went to prison for 4 years for fraud and forgery. We showed mercy on the attempted murder charge only because Sophia didn't want to testify in a murder trial. She wanted to heal. Mrs. Sterling lost her home. We sold it. The proceeds went into a trust fund for Emma. Last I heard, she was living in a small apartment in Nevada, complaining to anyone who would listen about how she was swindled. Sophia and Emma moved back into the house on Maple Street. We repainted, we bought new furniture, we burned the air mattress. 6 months later, I was sitting on Sophia's porch. Emma was running through the sprinklers, laughing. Sophia came out with 2 glasses of lemonade. She looked healthy. The light was back in her eyes. "Mom," she said, sitting next to me, "I got the job." "Head nurse?" "Yes. And I met someone. A nice guy. He's an accountant." I raised an eyebrow. "An accountant?" Sophia laughed. "Don't worry, I ran a background check on him myself. His credit score is 800 and he has 0 hidden accounts." "Good girl," I smiled. I watched my granddaughter play. I thought about the numbers, the debts, the fraud. Money leaves a trail. lies leave a trail. But love, real, protective, fierce, motherly love, that leaves a shield. I took a sip of lemonade. You know, I said, I'm thinking of coming out of retirement. Really? Sophia asked. To do what? I think there are a lot of other mothers out there who need a forensic accountant, I said. I think I'll open a consultancy, the Grandma Detective Agency. Sophia smiled. You'd be the most terrifying detective in the city. I know, I said. That's the point. To everyone watching this, if you suspect something is wrong in your family, if the money doesn't add up, if the behavior changes, do not ignore it. Do not be polite. Do not keep the peace. Open the books. Check the statements. Look at the signatures. Because the truth is always there, hiding in the numbers. You just have to be brave enough to look for it. This is Eleanor signing off. If you enjoyed this story of how I balanced the books on a bully, please hit the like button and subscribe to Granny Archive Stories. And I want to ask you, do you check your partner's financial statements or do you trust them blindly? Let me know in the comments. And remember, trust but verify.